Hey everybody, welcome to Real United States. I wanted to bring you here to the Maryland Travel Welcome Center, not specifically because it's Maryland, but I wanted to talk a little bit about these welcome centers that are spread around the country. And I'm going to have to talk in some generalities, because there's exceptions to every little rule. So if I say all or every, somebody out there is gonna jump on me because, well, there's this exception or that exception. So I apologize for the generalities, but there are a few exceptions. But in virtually every state, as you enter the state, you're going to find along the major ports of entry, especially along the interstate highway system, welcome centers. And they're almost indistinguishable from rest areas. Rest areas are along our interstate highway system, every sporadically, any 20, 30, 40, 50 miles. And these are places where you can pull off. There's bathrooms and there's places to park, to rest, to get up, stretch your legs, maybe to sleep for a couple hours so you don't get tired at the wheel. But at the ports of entry, at the borders, there is usually a staffed building, much like the one behind me here in the state of Maryland, and there are several here in Maryland, that have tourist information, they have travel information, they have information about the area for those that are relocating. And there's usually a staff there to answer questions and things like that. You can get state highway maps, all kinds of cool stuff. And yes, some of us do still use paper maps because guess what? Maps don't fail and don't run out of power. So at this particular one, they have two separate buildings. Here is the visitor center behind me. And then they have the lavatories, the bathrooms over here in a separate building. And this is the sort of thing that would be at every rest area, but not at a welcome center. A welcome center will have also the other building. I'm sorry. Now, welcome centers haven't always been. The interstate highway system hasn't always been. In fact, the visitor centers started in the United States here, with the first one installed along Route 12 just outside of New Buffalo, Michigan in 1935. And pretty much from that point on, they became across the nation. The exceptions, of course, being Alaska and Hawaii, which have no particular easy highway entry. Now, I'm sure those states have some sort of visitor or tourist information center, but it's not like this. It's probably part of the Department of Tourism or something that's at a particular city. And some places here in the United States, they aren't just at the points of entry. You'll find them in major metropolitan areas, certainly in New Orleans, which is not near a border, but is a big tourist area. So when people come into these large tourist areas, there'll be a visitor information center. Some small towns even have them. Bev and I have been to a number of places that have small towns that have visitor information centers. So the welcome centers serve the purpose of giving you information about stuff that would probably not be readily visible to you. And we use them as a source of information when we're traveling to go ahead and find information for possible future episodes. So if you wondered where we get our ideas, sometimes it is actually from the literature we pick up here. Now, again, depending on the state, because these are usually under state jurisdiction, state administration, it's going to depend who administers them. For example, in Georgia, they're administered by the Department of Transportation, and in Tennessee, they're administered by the Department of Tourism. So it's not always, you think, well, it's right here with part of the rest area, part of the highway system. No, it's not always part of the DOT. Sometimes it is actually Department of Tourism. So just an interesting little tidbit. But you can get a lot of information here. They're very, very, very handy, and you can find all kind of cool things like, oh, I didn't know that was here. So we're going to go inside. We're going to take a little look. We're actually here on a mission to pick up some information, see what else we can find, maybe for future episodes here. So come along with us. Let's take a look inside. Okay. Fine, thank you. And yourself? So almost invariably at both rest areas and at welcome centers, there will be some sort of picnic area. Now in this particular case, you see we have a nice covered area for in case there's inclement weather. So you could come and sit and eat even if it were raining. I don't think that people generally go out of their way to picnic at a rest area, but certainly if you're traveling and you're carrying foodstuffs, it's a nice opportunity to actually get out of the car instead of trying to eat while you're sitting in the car. So these are fairly common. Now, one of the things that I've noticed here in the northeastern United States, certainly in the Virginia and Maryland area at least, is there are no grills at these. But in many states, certainly in Michigan and through the Midwest, you'll find that there are actually charcoal grills available at these roadside rests, at these welcome centers. So you can actually cook food there as well. So that's also going to depend largely, because they are administered by individual states, what they choose to provide and what they choose to have. So, keep that in mind. There is a website for rest areas spread around the country, which the welcome centers generally are attached to. And I'm going to put that down in the doobly-doo down below. So as you can see, Beverly and I have come up with quite the stack of stuff. Now, I'm sorry that I didn't do a lot indoors. I'll give you just a quick little look there. I didn't want to be too obtrusive to the staff or the other people that were in there, so I just gave you a little quick pan with the camera and then shut it off. But while we were in there, we picked up, about 2.5 inches or so worth of literature, everything from pamphlets to full-blown magazines. Now, all of this is free. Obviously, the Department of Tourism and the individual venues that choose to advertise and place documentation here are competing for your vacation dollars, your travel dollars. So they provide these things to you absolutely free. Admittedly, it's, because it's printed matter, it falls out of date within a few months. But, trying to find things on the web, unless you know what to look for, they're probably there, but unless you can, you know the right search parameters, it's going to be difficult to find. Here, it's all up there and it's got its headlines and you get to kind of browse. And so it gives you ideas that you might not otherwise get. One of the things, I mentioned the maps, Department of Tourism, state highway maps. I grabbed a couple of those. Almost every state that I've been in, certainly here in the eastern United States, you're going to have some kind of a newsprint sort of a magazine like this. They're coupon books. Usually they're hotel coupons. And yes, they do have a website, but if you're on the road, it's easier to just pick one up. Sometimes they have them for attractions, for discounts on certain attractions. In Florida, obviously the big theme parks and whatnot offer some discounts. And I think you can find those in these. They don't have a glossy cover. They're a newsprint cover. And they all kind of have discounts because obviously the hotels, just like any other venue, are competing for your dollars. And they would like you to stay at their place. So they're going to offer you maybe, a little bit off to encourage you to come there and make them more competitive. Those are always located right by the door, folks. The hotel coupons, the coupons are always located right next to the door. Man, we got everything from Arlington National Cemetery, which we've been to, obviously. Brew pubs. There we go. Maybe we can take you to a brew pub. We'll see if that might be a possibility. A general one on Maryland, destination Maryland. Visit Baltimore, more specific, just the city of Baltimore. Large municipalities often will have a large glossy magazine like this. Restaurants and shops and whatnot will advertise in it, again, because they're competing for your dollars. But it does give you, the advantage to advertising is it does tell you, hey, what's available. Sometimes we think of ads as being kind of a pain in the butt. except for those of us that are YouTube creators and we like ads. But the fact of the matter is these ads do give you information to think about and go, hey, we could go there, we could do this, we could do that. So that's what this is all about. All these places across the United States, again, you're going to find, because they are administered by the state agencies, very nicely manicured, well maintained. A lot of them do maintain security at night. The visitor center building where you go in and get this sort of stuff is actually only open during business hours, during the day, from morning to evening. It varies from place to place, from state to state, but that is not a 24-hour-a-day thing. Obviously, the restrooms and the vending for the food, snacks like that, that's usually available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, round the clock, all the time. But the actual interior with literature and those sorts of things, not available at night. So sometimes not on holidays too, folks, depending on the state. So you might want to be careful about that if you're traveling here in the United States, and I hope you will be. So I hope that this has been something to you. Certainly if you're from overseas, give you some idea of how we go ahead and disseminate information to the local area when people are wandering across the United States by vehicle. And I hope you've enjoyed this. So if you got questions or comments, hey, leave them in the comment section below. I try to get back to everybody I can. I will try and answer your questions to the best of my ability. If you're new here, hey, pick subscribe. Come along for the adventure. We got lots more to show you. And as always, thank you for watching.